Hello, welcome to He's Hot but Something's Off with me, just Joey T. How are y'all doing today? How's it going? There's not a way for you guys to leave a comment on the podcast, but it just felt like, hey, it'd be nice to just ask, how's everyone doing? So I hope you've been enjoying the podcast episode so far. This is episode number 4, actually number 5. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, my good friend David was here in LA, and we did basically a double header. We started recording and it went on and on and on. So we recorded for a full hour. So last week I decided to split it into 2 episodes, 2 30-minute episodes, but both were released last week. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out because he definitely is the funnier of the two of us. And I love just having conversations with him and being able to have him beyond the podcast and be himself. And we just talking about random stuff. It's been so much fun. Before I move on, little housekeeping. I've been trying to get this podcast onto Google Podcast, the Google Podcast app, for like 2 weeks now. So before I actually launched the very first episode, the first week, I was going to get it onto Amazon and to Apple and Spotify, like all the major apps that people listen to podcasts. And every app was fine. Amazon was like, cool, you're up. Apple was like, cool, you're up. Spotify, it's like, no problem. YouTube is no problem, because I already have the YouTube channel. But Google Podcast app specifically was like, no, not today. And it took like weeks somehow to get it up. But I just checked again this morning. You can now find this podcast on the Google Podcast app if that is your preferred method for getting podcasts. We do have a video version of this podcast for those who are watching, but that would still only be available on Spotify and my YouTube channel, Just Joey T. But yeah, go check it out if you are using Google. I also been thinking about doing a Patreon because I would love to be able to release juicier conversations that I would love to record and share with everyone. But because this goes out to like the regular platforms that have like all these guidelines and everything, if you post anything on YouTube, for example, if you watch any amount of YouTube videos, you hear YouTube content creators talk about being demonetized or copyrighted, all that kind of stuff. Is because anytime you upload anything onto YouTube, checks to see if the music or the video is part of a copyrighted work somewhere else. So a lot of times music you can't use on a YouTube video. You have to either own the rights to the music or you have to use the license-free or like the royalty-free music, that kind of thing. And there are also certain things you can't really talk about without being demonetized or without having your video restricted. So the last cruise that I went on in January or February, which was like the big Harmony cruise with Atlantis, because some of the scenes just show like a bunch of nearly naked gay men dancing, and it doesn't look super great. That's why out of nowhere, like a month after I uploaded, YouTube decided to age restrict one of those videos. And then like another month later, the other video was also restricted. I uploaded 2 videos, and then they're now both age restricted, but not the previous one. So yeah, YouTube works in mysterious ways. But I would love to be able to talk about certain things in an environment where it's not subject to like the full rules and guidelines of something like YouTube, or I'm sure all the other podcast apps have similar types of rules about, things you can and can't talk about because of like the advertisers or whatever. So if you would love to have me do a Patreon and give you guys like extra goss or drama, not like my life is super interesting, but like I would love to do a Patreon and be able to like share more exclusive content with y'all. So if you want that, just let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Maybe go to my YouTube to watch this so you can see me like talk to myself for like 30 minutes and leave a comment on the YouTube comments for this video if you would be interested in me doing a Patreon. So there we go. All right. So it was just a WeHo Pride this past weekend. The WeHo Pride is like a newer thing. I think it used to be like LA Pride. That was for like all of LA County, which West Hollywood is a part of. But somewhere along the way, I think like a few years ago, WeHo had to like do its own special thing. So we went a little bit for WeHo Pride. LA Pride is this coming weekend. So they're just a week apart. It's a lot of Pride Month is in full swing, basically. Once we hit June, it's all like Pride. It's all very gay. It's all very rainbow colors everywhere. But WeHo Pride was fun. We didn't go balls to the wall, super crazy or anything. I just went out on the Sunday during the day. So they closed down Santa Monica Boulevard, which is really cool. They didn't do that last year for WeHo Pride. So a lot of like street vendors and a lot of people just like out and about having fun. That was really great. And we went to Heart on WeHo, which is just one of the bars along that stretch of Santa Monica Boulevard where all the bars are in West Hollywood. So this is actually the bar that's co-owned by Lance Bass of NSYNC fame. For people who don't know NSYNC, I guess anyone who's like younger than a millennial, just Google search it. NSYNC was a really big boy band back in, were they the 90s or the 2000s? I think NSYNC formed in like the late 90s. So for people who don't know about the boy band craze back then, Google's your friend. But yeah, it's co-owned by Lance Bass basically, and our friend Dan Slater was DJing there this past Sunday at Heart WeHo. So we went and had a really good time, but didn't go too crazy. Coming this weekend for LA Pride, that's where like all of LA County is going to be partying pretty hard. I don't know what I'm going to do for that. I don't feel like for people that follow me on my Instagram, on my socials, on my YouTube, because I put out so many like these party cruise, gay cruise videos, people that don't know me in real life think that I party all the time. Like I wake up and then I go to the party and then I go to sleep and then I wake up and then I repeat like all day, all week, every month, something like that. It's really not like that. I actually don't party like that much when I'm at home. I feel like I've got everything else to do at home. Like I'm doing chores, I'm doing errands, I'm going to the gym, I'm working, I'm hanging out with friends, like all these other things. It's really only when I take a vacation, I travel somewhere, like get on a plane, that's where I'm like, okay, I'm on vacation. I'm going to go have fun. So I'm going to go to some parties. So yeah, that's basically it. So excited for LA Pride anyways. I have tickets to a pool party. That's all for right now. There's probably like 20 million parties out there for next weekend. But yeah, if you are out if you're out this Saturday for LA Pride, I've got tickets to a pool party at the Andes, so maybe I'll see some of you there. But besides that, I was in the San Francisco airport yesterday. This is not a segue. This is just totally random. I just talk about random topics on this podcast, basically. So I'm not looking for a great transition. But anyways, moving on now. I flew up to San Francisco yesterday just for like a day trip, just because I have an appointment up there. That's all the can of worms. Maybe we'll get into it in a future podcast. But I went up to San Francisco from LA, flew up during the day, spent like, 5 hours in the city or whatever, did my thing, did my appointment. It was fine. And I was coming back. I was about to fly back from San Francisco to LA. And then, it's going to sound a little bit weird, I was killing some time at one of the lounges in the airport. And I was like washing my hands or something. And then someone had like just came in behind me and like this guy was peeing. And this guy was on his phone. And I always find it so weird when people are using their phones when they're peeing. Sometimes at the gym, I'll see someone like they're going up to the urinal. And as they walk up, they're going to like pull out their phone. So they've got like one hand on the business and then the other hand is scrolling through blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's a lot of people do it. So I guess it's like a pretty common thing. But I'm thinking like, I'm not so bored when I'm peeing for like the 30 seconds that I need to whip out my phone and be like, who's on Grindr right now? But I do take out my phone when I'm brushing my teeth. So when I'm brushing my teeth at night or in the morning, I brush for 2 minutes. I got an electric toothbrush. It's got a timer and 2 minutes and it goes buzz, 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 and then I'm done. But for the 2 minutes I'm brushing my teeth, I find brushing my teeth so boring that I'm like on a website or on Instagram or on something. I'm scrolling through something as I'm brushing my teeth in one hand. I'm holding my phone with the other hand. I'm like scrolling, and I'm like drooling into the sink and brush until the electric toothbrush tells me, okay, your 2 minutes is up now. You can like move on with your life. But okay, I guess in that way I can maybe relate to like people that have to take out their phone. But anyways, this guy in the airport lounge, I just finished peeing, and then I was like washing my hands in the sink, and he was at the urinals, but he was coming in already on the phone, and like there was no one else in like the bathroom, and it was a very quiet bathroom. By the way, like play some background music in the bathroom, because what if like someone's gonna fart? Like when you do a number two, sometimes bad noises come out, and if it's like a public bathroom where multiple people are gonna be in there, like you as the manager of that venue, you need to play some effing music in that bathroom to like help mask some of these noises. But like there wasn't really any music playing in that bathroom. Anyways, this guy was on the phone and he was talking, and because it was no background music and it was quiet, like there's no way I couldn't listen to every word that he was speaking in crystal clear, like surround sound. I heard everything. And he was talking, it's like, blah, 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 like, have you chosen what your course is yet? But like, it's like the end of the day now. And like, okay, well, today's over, blah, blah, blah. And then blah, blah, blah. Well, it's like, that's not mom's job, blah, blah, blah. So I've gathered by now he's talking to his son or daughter, his kid, basically, about choosing courses probably for like college or something, because that's when you choose courses in college, right? And then blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, it's not my fault and it's not mom's fault. And then the next thing he says after a pause is like, well, we're not trying to blame anyone here. And I'm thinking like, well, you just said it's not your fault. It's not your wife's fault. It's like you're clearly blaming the kid. You know, you're implying that the kid's the problem. And then you're saying we're not trying to blame anyone. And then a little time later, and he raises his voice like a little bit. And then later he says, okay, well, no one's yelling. No one's yelling. So I'm just also sort of rolling my eyes, but I'm thinking like, oh, this is like really kind of juicy. I don't want to have kids. I think it might be fun to have like not a baby, because I don't want to deal with like, I don't think I would be good with like taking care of like a baby or like a toddler. But if a kid is like going to school, like they can talk. I think that's where like I could imagine myself maybe not like wanting to have a kid. I don't really want kids now, but if I had a partner in the future, maybe we were in like a long-term relationship or we were married, and then, he's like, well, I really want to have kids. I'm thinking like, okay, we could have like an older kid. I think that'd be okay. I think I would find it kind of fun to like help a kid navigate through like school and help them with like homework and like kind of teach them like some life lessons, that kind of stuff. But you don't get to that kind of stuff until, I don't know, like the tween years, like 10, 12-ish on up. That's where like, maybe raising a kid is fun for me, but like I don't want to, I don't know, change diapers and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, it was just like a very random conversation that I heard of. It's like, well, okay, you're kind of telling your kid that it's his fault for not choosing courses, which is true, but it's like you're also, anyways. And then you're also saying like you're yelling at him, but you're saying you're not yelling at him. But I guess parenting is probably not as easy as it sounds. Anyways, yeah, I flew back after that. Otherwise, beyond that conversation heard in the urinal, it's very regular trip. But one thing is bugging me right now lately, though, is inflation. So obviously, inflation has been in the news. Unless you've been living under a rock, everything is very, very pricey. I just went grocery shopping like a couple hours ago after I went to the gym. And I also read yesterday that egg prices were coming back down, but eggs apparently were very expensive. And I eat a lot of eggs. I probably on average eat like 3 eggs a day. And egg prices did come down. So they were not as expensive as last time when I bought eggs today. But I was needing to buy coffee beans. I sometimes drink coffee and I have a coffee machine at home. It takes whole beans. And usually a regular bag of beans is like, I don't know, 10 to 15 bucks, depending if you get like the cheaper / nicer ones. You can get really expensive beans, obviously. But I was at the Whole Foods today and I was looking at the beans and things were like 20 bucks a bag for beans that are not worth $20. So I was looking at it and my jaw just dropped. So inflation might not have hit the eggs so hard right now or recently, but it's really hitting coffee really, really bad. But anyways, yeah, so I went to just like a coffee shop to get the beans there, which were nicer beans that were fresher anyways. And that was also $20. I was like, okay, you don't have a job right now, Joey. You shouldn't spend so much money on little luxuries. I mean, some people consider coffee to be something they have to have every single day. I don't drink coffee all the time. I usually drink coffee before I go to the gym for like a little extra kick of caffeine. But, I was going to the store. I was like, okay, you need coffee beans, but don't get pricey coffee beans because some coffee beans get really pricey. And I went there and I was like, well, all the beans are like $20, which is like 50% more than they're supposed to be. So inflation is still a thing. So that was kind of annoying. The most annoying thing, this is going to be, if you're going to listen to this podcast, you just have to know I have a lot of opinions about a lot of things, which is why I do a podcast. But sometimes I will go on rants. So the most annoying thing I've done recently in the last week or so is talk to car dealerships. I love cars. I love everything about a car. I can talk to someone about cars probably for like days on end. I've got a car now that I own, but I've decided, you know what? I want to like sell the car and pocket the cash because I'm trying to get, like a few kind of side hustles going. I'm actually trying to start my own business, which I'll go into maybe in the future podcast if I get further along with that. And I'm also like, not working right now. I'm not really digging too much in my savings, but I thought, you know what, like trying to start a business and with these side hustles, they require some amount of money to invest, upfront, which is pretty typical for like a new business. And I thought instead of just having a chunk of money sitting in the car that I own, why don't we just sell the car, pocket that cash that I can put into the starting the business, and then I can just lease a car, so that I still have something to drive, but I just make the payments on it, but then I get to pocket the cash from that's just sitting in my car right now. So I've been like researching, finding out like what car I want. And it's hard for car people to actually decide what car they want to buy. It's like if you're really picky about jewelry or shoes or clothes or kitchen appliances or like washing machines, whatever it is, the more you're like into that thing and you need to like buy that thing, you're going to be like super picky about it because you're super into it. And no one can help you because you're already like so OCD about like the knowledge or like that thing. So that's where I was. But I finally figured out, okay, like it's going to be between like these two models and I'm just going to buy whichever one I can get a better deal on. So I've been talking to a ton of car dealerships, and it's so annoying to talk to car dealerships because like they still do this thing, I can't believe it, where car dealerships will try to charge you for stuff that is like vaporware, literally. I was talking to this one car dealership, and it's popular for them to say, oh, we put this like coating, quote unquote, on our cars. There's this like security system, quote unquote, that's on our cars. We put on all our cars. We can't take it off, so we have to charge you for it. By the way, first of all, I know for sure that's bullshit. I bought like 10 cars in my life, and there's no way a car dealership is going to like take it onto their own accord to put some special coating onto every single one of their cars. Do you know how much effort that would take if they have like 100 cars on their lot, which is actually it's actually 100 cars on the lot. A decent sized dealership can easily have at least 100 cars on the lot. You think every time they got a car, they would spend hours of their time to put this stupid coating onto their car? No, and most consumers have no way to know that the coating is not there, and dealerships, they just like obfuscate and like hide all this kind of stuff. But this one dealership anyways, I was in the showroom physically there, and then we're talking about numbers for a car, and he said like, oh, we have this coating on the car, it's like $895, but like we're gonna give it to you at cost, we're not making a profit on it all. Like, and that's when I just totally soured on this like dealership. But by the way, I found another dealership that wasn't charging me any extra shit, so I'm just gonna go buy from them. But like this guy that was trying to like tack on all these charges, I just walked, like soon after I just walked out, literally. And you're buying a car and the dealership is trying to charge you all this extra stuff, probably like the strongest thing you can do for negotiating is like, don't be afraid to just fucking walk out. So I didn't end up buying the car from them. I've talked to like 5 car dealerships just to like find one that has a car that has the car that I want to start, and where like they'll actually talk numbers with me over email or like over the phone. Like some of them, they won't talk numbers with you unless you go to the showroom. It's like, are we living in like 1995? Like it's 2023. Like car dealerships, if they want your business, they need to like get with the online way of doing things. Like you can't expect people to drive like 20 miles to visit your dealership for them to just like talk some numbers with you. Like that's totally like not a feasible thing to do these days. Like I feel like millennials are pretty turned off by that. I guess if you were selling to like someone older where they're used to always going to a dealership to buy a car, that's fine. You can drag them in. But like if we're trying to sell to millennials, and increasingly like Gen Z are probably starting to buy cars now, right? I guess everything is done online. There's no reason a dealership can't give you the numbers just via an email. Just like send it over. Like they're just numbers. It's not like some like whatever magic baton that has to be like hand delivered in person for you to like buy this car or whatever it is. So that was super annoying. I still haven't bought my car yet, but I've been talking to dealerships for like 2 or 3 weeks now. I've gone to like 2 dealerships. I talked to someone on the phone. I talked to some by email. Oh my God. So I still don't have a car yet, but that's the goal that I'm trying to have, is get rid of the car that I have now by the end of the month, pocket that cash, and I can put it into this business I'm trying to start, because I'm going to need to pump in some cash for that. And I don't want to have to borrow too much money. And then I can still have this new car to drive that I'll just pay off in the lease. It's really useful consumer information. Actually, if you want more useful consumer advice from this random podcast, like go to the YouTube channel and put it down in the comments for sure. The last thing I want to talk about today is what we've been talking about to end the podcast the last couple of weeks, which is RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 8, or Some Stars 8, according to David and myself. Episode 5 just came out, and it's the Snatch Game of Love. I kind of just wish they did regular Snatch Game, honestly, because I enjoy it so much more. I get the Snatch Game of Love is a variation, and, you know, variation is good. You don't have to do the same thing over and over again. But yeah, me and David agree. We just have preferred just a regular Snatch Game. The thoughts I have for this week, and it's a big one. It was a very exciting episode to watch. Obviously, the drama in the workroom, and me and David, we were talking about our thoughts about this. We were pausing the episode as we were watching it to like basically exchange thoughts. So most people, including David, just putting words in his mouth right now, believe that Candy lied because he didn't outright deny that what Candy told Jimbo was not correct. I feel like there's probably a miscommunication. You know, like Candy might have said something when the cameras were off, and then Heidi heard it. And then when Heidi told Jimbo what Candy said, it was probably not exactly the same as what Candy actually said. It's like one queen might say like, oh, like, I'm gonna have to watch out for Jimbo. He's strong competition. And then maybe Heidi heard it like, oh, Candy just said he's out to get Jimbo. And then when Candy actually talks to Jimbo, maybe maybe Heidi said, oh, like, Candy's gunning for you. Candy's gonna try to eliminate you. And then however, like, Jimbo remembers it in his head. So that's my brain just giving the benefit of the doubt when you don't have like the absolute proof. That's just usually how I work. But I will agree with David that it's likely that the cameras were off. We don't see what happened. So there's just something doesn't add up. But like the person that lost the most in that is Alexis Michelle. Like, honestly, I don't know if he's trying to go for like the Oscar award or something, or like he's trying to get like an acting gig after All Stars is done, or I don't know. Yeah, it was hard to watch. Kind of, it's like you just said 2 very different things, and you can see the gears turning in his head when the cameras are on him. It's like, if you don't remember something, the natural inclination is just to say, I don't remember exactly what was said. Like, I think a normal person out of instinct would probably just say that. But you can see, like, he's not saying anything, and he's taking the time. He's thinking, like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? So that implies to me he probably did remember what was said, or his recollection of it. And he's trying to think, like, how do I, one of 2 things. He's either thinking, how do I make this good television, i.e. the production? Or 2, how do I, what's the best move for me? Because this might have an effect on like how queens perceive me depending on what I say. But he basically failed at like, well, he gave up good TV, but I don't know if the queens are gonna really like view him favorably for that because he's like flip-flopping, right? Can queens trust him in the future after, like before where like he kind of threw Darian under the bus and now you have this like flip-flop type of a thing where like is 1 minute is no, then the next like 5 seconds later is a yes. Like it's very, very confusing. So that was the drama. But like I will say, no matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you think Candy was telling the truth or Heidi or like whatever you think, it was good TV. Like it was super juicy. Like I gay gasped like 10 times watching that drama in the workroom. So it's really, really, really fun. The only other note I have is in the Untucked, the queens were talking about who they thought will be in the bottom. So Gehana, unfortunately, was kind of obviously one of the bottom queens just based on the performance. The other queens during the Untucked thought that if Heidi had not left by then, Heidi would be in the bottom with Kahana. But Dave and I were talking about this, and just based on what we saw in the episode, whatever made the edit, it kind of felt like Heidi performed at least as good as Jessica, if not a bit better. So we were just thinking, well, for someone who was actually there, who experienced the whole thing live, maybe Heidi did worse overall. But for whatever, made it into the edits for like the viewers to see on TV, it kind of looked like, Jessica didn't really do worse. So it was like a little confusing, but we just basically chalk it up to the edit. The other thing Dave and I talked about was how much is production interfering with everything? And it's breaking like the fourth wall a little bit of television. But my sense is really like, when I watch a television show, I just watch it and I'm like, I'm entertained. And then when the show's over, okay, I'm like doing something else already. Honestly, I have to look up every time I talk about Drag Race on the podcast, I have to like look up on Wikipedia, okay, which queens have been eliminated, which queens are still there, because I can't keep it in my head. My memory is like that bad. But yeah, I'm very much like, I don't go and like do research and look up like, all the analysis of the episode afterwards. I don't like listen to like the podcasts that are about Drag Race, all that kind of stuff. So I can, if I think about it, I can understand that, yeah, production, it's a TV show, it's produced. Of course, they're producers and, they need to make good TV. And I can see that, yeah, production is probably, put it lightly, nudging things here and there to make sure that we get a good TV show. And that's why lots of people watch it, right? But I'm also very happy with the, with the idea of like, I'm watching it and I'm able to just kind of let myself be lost in the fantasy, so to speak, of, this queen was voted off because she really was in the bottom or whatever. I'm not trying to second guess in my head like, oh, production did this and that's why this queen is here. Or like, oh, we didn't see that because like of production, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes, a little bit of ignorance is bliss. But that's how I am with TV. I actually don't watch a lot of TV shows. RuPaul's Drag Race is one of the very few TV shows that I actually watch. Yeah, but I'm glad that we got that bit of drama. I was loving it. I hope we have more in the future, for sure. All right, this brings us to the close of another episode of the podcast. When the first episode came out, I ranted like on and on and on. And to be honest, I probably did in this episode as well. This is like Joey Unfiltered because usually when I record these, I don't want to have to do a lot of edits. There may be times where like I had a cough or like I sneeze that you don't get on this podcast. That's where I do like little edits so that you don't see me like blowing my nose off to the side or something like that. But yeah, this is like very minimal edits and you're getting the real unedited Joey aside from like the coughing and sneezing that happens once in a while. So yeah, I do ramble a little bit in real life. If I'm having a conversation with someone, that's different. There's like back and forth. But if you just like turn a mic on and you just turn your camera on, this is what you get. But I am trying to keep these down to about 30 minutes for your sanity and mine. I want these to be kind of lighter weight things. And the first episode that came out was like 45 minutes long. And my friend Jack, he was like, okay, I'm getting like ADHD 20 minutes in. Maybe like, keep it a little bit shorter. So I'm aiming for 30 minutes for these ones. And I'm also hoping to have David back pretty soon. He might have some travels to Los Angeles later this month. Maybe he won't. Who can say? But, if he does come back, I'll definitely get him back on the podcast. And I'm also already have a list of people that I want to bring on as guests on this podcast as well. But until next time, bye.